Nisam Bulavinaka, Fiji, and a warm welcome to Speak Your Mind. I'm Louise Kaunisela. The United Nations General Assembly proclaimed the 21st of March the International Day of Forest in 2012. The day celebrates and raises awareness of the importance of all types of forest. The theme for 2021 is Forest Restoration, a path to recovery and well-being. Healthy forests mean healthy people. Forests provide health benefits for everyone, such as fresh air, nutritious food, clean water and recreation even. Forests are the lungs of our land, purifying the air and giving fresh strength to our people. My guests are representatives from the Ministry of Forestry. Well, we have Viliame Rokovu with us, and we also have Isaac Rounds, and he is from the NGO Conservation International. So a warm welcome to the both of you to Speak Your Mind. Bulavinaka, and I think we'll start off with Isaac Rounds first, because this is the first time I've actually heard of the NGO Environmental Conservation International. So maybe you'd like to tell us about what you do, Isaac.
Good afternoon, and Bulavinaka to our listeners out there. I think I'll introduce myself. My name is Isaac Rounds. I'm from Serua. I've been working in the forest area for the past 15 years. My background is I'm a forest ecologist, so basically a person who studies the forest.
Oh, wow.
My organization that I work for is called Conservation International.
Mm-hmm.
We are working in currently over 30 countries.
Mm-hmm.
In Fiji, we established our office here in 2009. And one of our big projects was actually to conserve about 16,000 hectares of forest in the Naitasiri and Namosi province.
Wow.
Following from that, our next big project was actually to restore degraded lands in the Ra province. So our communities in Ra might know Conservation International. And right now, one of our other projects is in Tuva catchment, in the Nandronga, Nabosa, and Ba province, and also in the entire Lau province, which is called the Lau Seascape Project.
Oh, that is really interesting, and it's good to know that you're into this work. I mean, we need someone. I mean, this shows the most important work is done very quietly in the background. But yeah, great to hear a little bit about yourself as well as your organization. And we have Viliame Rokovu as well here. Maybe you'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself as well.
Bulavinaka, Fiji, and to all our listeners. My name is Viliame Rokovu.
Mm-hmm.
I've been actually working for the Ministry of Forestry for the last 16 years. And we actually started off as a forest technician, which we normally monitor and control all forest activity out there in the divisions. We worked our way up right to becoming a planning officer for the Ministry of Forestry right now.
Okay.
So what we do, we design and work closely in collaborations with our civil society organizations and also with other stakeholders that we have around us in order to develop a robust plan for sustainable forest management of Fiji's forest resources for our future generation.
Right.
I think that's a bit of what we are currently doing now.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Viliame. And, well, to our first question, it might seem a bit silly, but it isn't. No question is silly, in fact. What is a forest?
I think that's a very good question. What is a forest? In simple terms, a forest is basically a dense group of trees grouped together, basically. And within these forests, you have a lot of, apart from plants, you have a lot of animals. So you have birds, you have snakes. You know, in Fiji we don't have monkeys and all the rest, but we do have birds and snakes and all the other, creatures like insects and all. And also in the forest here in Fiji, for our Itoke communities, is very important because it's where most of the totems live. So
What is the meaning of totems?
totem is basically a traditional.
How can you put it?
Yeah,
maybe
Vili, can you
maybe
explain what's a
Vili, can
totem?
you explain what a totem is?
It's kind of like traditional protected special areas that we protect.
So in Itoke communities, you have a totem plant or totem animal.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, I
So-
mean, it has a specific
significant,
role.
yeah,
Yeah,
role.
can be
Specific,
restricted.
significant
Yeah,
role.
significant
Yes.
role for a particular family,
Okay.
a particular clan, a particular district, or even a province.
Oh, okay.
So, in most of these forests,
Mm-hmm.
this is where most of the totems live. And
Oh.
apart from that, you've mentioned it already. It regulates climate. It controls flooding events. So very important. Forests are very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is basically what a forest is.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a dense group of trees and all creatures living in these trees.
Exactly.
And all for a reason, not for nothing, to keep, I suppose, the world and everything balanced. Just like the ocean as well. I mean,
Yes.
everything that is on the earth serves a purpose, right? Okay, so what is happening to our forests?
I'll begin with
Okay,
this. So,
yep, yep.
for in Fiji, for the past couple of decades, the area that has been forested has been decreasing in size.
Mm-hmm.
So now, because of unsustainable farming, because of unsustainable forest clearing, to a certain extent logging, a recent study conducted by the Ministry of Forestry concluded that most of the reason why forests have been decreasing is because of a lot of cover cultivation. So we now have few patches of forest that remains, and most of them are located in the central division for Viti level and around Namosi, Naitasiri, and some of the highlands of Mba and in Levu, in Bua and Takonravi areas. So these are some of the large tracts of forest that still remains in Fiji.
Okay, so you meaning these are the most dense forests
Yes,
that remain?
That remains.
Okay,
Untouched.
So untouched. Ooh, what, in your view, is that quite a lot for the country compared to the rest of the world?
No, not really.
Oh, because you have bigger forests,
Bigger forests in bigger
the
countries.
land
in
area,
yes.
right?
So
I mean, but compared to our size, maybe look at it that way. If we're small, I mean, we're just a speck in the ocean, right? But we have quite good forests for being a small island.
we have good forests, but they are endangered.
They are
They
endangered.
are threatened by continuous
Like
unsustainable farming, as I mentioned before, unsustainable logging, and all the
Okay.
other issues that.
All right.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to that in a moment on Speak Your Mind, Gold FM, only the classic hits. We're back on Speak Your Mind, Gold FM, only the classic hits. We're your only classic hit station in the country. Be sure to listen to us. But for now, this is our radio talk back on the Center Show with me, Louise. And, well, we were talking about earlier about how, you know, that Fiji does have problems in the forest because of, like our friend Isaac mentioned, you know, grog, sustainable farming, unsustainable farming. That's right. So can we continue from there?
Yeah. If I could add on to what Isaac has just mentioned,
Right.
like globally, each year millions of acres of forest has been removed around the world. So that's due to unplanned fires,
Yeah.
rural areas, and also a very high rate of logging that's going on.
Yes.
So in our role in planning at the ministry, one of the areas that we do is we look at the stats on what is the rate of log production that we are removing from our forest. So when the log production decreases, that's an indicator that our forests have been deforested in native forests, and those are the classifications of forests that we are removing right now. And in terms of plantation forests, for pine and mahogany. So the Ministry of Forestry is putting in plans to actually do restoration as the theme of what's on the International Day of Forests.
Right.
So restoration is part of looking at these classifications of forest areas, like if the native forest log production is down, or maybe the number of forest areas are being degraded. These are areas that we move in and try and reforest. And we focus our reforestation degraded projects on trying to elevate the 30 million program. So when you were saying what's happening to our forests in Fiji, globally there is a high rate of deforestation. So each nation is obligated to by the conventions on climate change on how do we restore back those forest areas.
Vinaka, Williame, so why is the International Day of Forest important?
If I may. Well, this is an event that creates public awareness on the importance of forests to the environment, to humanity, and also to the biodiversity of the forest areas. Like as Isaac was mentioning, the definition of forest, it's just a large area covered by trees and trees with shrubs and different wildlife, but they have interlinkages.
Right.
Yeah, so just to add on to what he mentioned already about, what's your original question, what's happening to the forest?
Yeah.
Restoration is part of the answer. It's not the only answer. The other answer is also to conserve those remaining forest patches.
Yes. So conserve and
conserve
also
means to protect
them.
large tracts of forest that are still remaining into
Yeah.
perpetuity or some kind of managed regime. So in that case, the Ministry of Forestry, together with other government departments and other non-governmental organizations, have been working together to identify these large remaining tracts of forest and actually help secure funding for the conservation of this tract of forest.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like
Sure.
our partnerships with all our stakeholders, we actually formulate a protected area committee. So one of our global commitments is to ensure that Fiji, because of its 1.1 million forest areas, we have to cover 17% of it. We have to protect it and conserve it.
That's our international obligations.
That's our international obligations
under the Convention on Biological Diversity.
Which is really good to know that we're actually doing these things. But do you think that we're doing it in time? I mean, were we a bit late? I mean, mankind in thinking about all this, or has it been happening for a long time?
It's been happening. We've been working together with all the government departments and all the other environmental NGOs.
Yeah,
For us,
better late than never, right?
For us environmental NGOs, we basically work in implementing government policies. We are here, we align our work to government policies.
Yeah.
And that's how we work hand in hand with the Ministry of Forest, Ministry of Environment, and also our partners from United Nations Development Program, are working around with Fiji Water. So that's part of how we do our work.
So when you talk about sustainable forest management, it's just not conservation. It's conservation, restoration, even logging is. It may seem that logging is like affecting our forests, but if we sustainably
do it.
Yeah, like introduce smart logging practices.
Okay, so some examples of smart logging practices, please.
Yes, like right now, the Ministry of Forestry is actually introducing diameter limit tables. So instead of you just going into a forest and start cutting anyhow, you've been aligned to a DLT prescription. There are certain trees you have to remove according to the sizes. These are sustainable forest management techniques that the ministry is introducing into the sector. Right?
Okay. That's clear. Thank you very much. So can you tell us what this year's theme means? Forest restoration, a path to recovery and well-being. Both of you can answer. That's fine.
So forest, just for this year's theme, I think it comes in at the right time. Forest restoration is basically trying to restore a degraded or a forest that's basically you can find a lot of these introduced species like African tulip, basically back to its near original form. So, and that's the theme for this year is basically to raise awareness that forest restoration is a way of achieving sustainable forest management.
Okay. So, William?
Yeah, I think as Isaac mentioned, the theme is it came at a very right time for the country due to the rate of deforestation. So I think for forest restoration, I think I would rather think that while we're restoring our forests, is because it has linkages to everybody around it, and not just wildlife, but wildlife and also even the communities right now.
True.
So, like for us at the Ministry of Forestry, we are more focused on what COVID crisis has brought us. So, in terms of COVID-19, in terms of the repeated disasters that we've been having.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think improving food security is very important, and food security level is inside our forest. It's being provided by our forest. So, restoring the forest, that makes the theme so important for a small country.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. So how do we restore the forest? Can you give us another example? Like you said, the tulip.
So
Okay, sorry, we have to come back to that on Speak Your Mind, Gold FM, only the classic hits. Hope you're enjoying the program. Welcome back to Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. I'm Louise Kaunisela, and we're celebrating International Day of the Forest on the 21st of March. That's this Sunday. Now, I have wonderful guests to explain in a simple way how important our forest is and what we're doing, to stop forest, what do you call, destroying, degradation, that's the word. Right, so I just asked earlier on, before we went on to the break, just to give some example of how we're, carrying out forest restoration, a path to recovery and well-being.
thank you. For Conservation International, to answer your question on what are we doing in regards to forest restoration, so we have been working in the Ra province for the past 10 years with our assistance from our partners, the Fiji Water Company.
Mm-hmm.
So we have restored 1,135 hectares of degraded grasslands.
Grasslands.
Your
right.
question is, what is restoration?
Mm-hmm.
In simple answer to that is basically plant a tree.
Okay.
So if you plant a tree, it's not, then it comes to the next one. What if you plant a tree and you don't look after it?
Okay, so it's a continual process.
You have to make sure that the tree you plant survives and grows into a big tree in order to be useful.
Okay.
So for us in the Ra province, we've been working to restore those degraded grasslands, the Thalassemia grasslands, planting with native species, making sure that those trees that we plant grow to become big trees. And to do that, we worked with communities to do a lot of awareness on reducing the impacts of fire. So one of the main threats to planting a tree is actually to reduce the threats to those trees. And one of those is, in our communities in the Western Division, is fire.
Oh, I see. So, it's a dry place.
It's a dry place.
So, how does the fire start in the first place?
Some are from just basically careless. People just people just love to burn. Sometimes it escapes from farms. Some love to clear their farms, and some people, when they go and hunt for wild pigs.
See, this is just carelessness on man's part, and this is just not on.
Yeah.
So I think that is something that we really should raise awareness of it. Like maybe if someone is listening now, or they'll watch the delayed coverage on FBC TV, it's very important for people to be aware of this.
Okay, as from the ministry's perspective, in terms of the theme, forest restoration, pathway to recovery and well-being, as the Ministry of Forestry, it administers the sector. So whether you're in a non-government organization or a government organization that are part of our stakeholders and other investors, our role is to look at it in a very holistic way in terms of restoration.
Okay.
For example, what Conservation International is doing, that is in collaboration with the Ministry of Forestry.
Right.
In terms of, just plant a tree. Or
Making sure it's done.
Making sure it's done. And also plant trees that are short rotational, that our industries can survive and live by it. Like, for example, increase Fiji pine plantation, increase Fiji hardwood plantations. These are major sectors that take
So
that
this is for economically.
for economical and for people that are working under those companies, their
Yeah.
families, and the communities that are giving in their land for leases.
Okay.
This is what I mean, like how
Right.
we look at it as any minister from a forest sector perspective.
Okay, thank
And
you.
also, we're not just looking at that, but we're also looking at attempting into the livelihoods of the communities on food security component. Say we're increasing in terms of planting a tree, we're not just planting a tree to cut a tree so that it commercially be driven and drives economy, but we are also looking at fruit trees. Or maybe we are looking at non-timber products that are being actually consumed by the people of the country. Like, for example, increasing otter plantations. Instead of taking our old ladies go further into the forest, why don't we move it closer to the village?
Right.
So it's easier for them to access food security.
Right.
So the ministry is looking at the theme in a very holistic way. Like it has to do with forest protection, it has to do with forest removal, but in a sustainable forest management way.
Yes, that's understood. Okay, that's a good explanation. So we'll come back to the sandalwood and all that because people of Fiji could be really rich if they planted sandalwood. I mean, how much does it cost when it's like after 15 years? But then make sure, a sustainable way again. So how can we achieve a sustainable forest management and biodiversity conservation?
I think that's another good question. I think we can do that we're already doing it,
Okay.
but we need to further improve on it. All the government stakeholders, all the NGOs that are working in the forestry field to work together. As you know, government has signed a lot of international conventions, and we have to make sure that we align ourselves to ensuring, especially from the NGO side, ensuring that our work aligned to implementing national government policies. To ensure that, yes, government target is to ensure that 70% of Fiji's forest is protected. How can we as NGO help government achieve that? Sometimes government doesn't have the funds to do this. Our role can be assisting donors to channel them to the right side. Okay, yes, this is what Fiji government right now need. Let's work together in doing that. That's our role as NGOs, facilitating national government policies.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I think from government's perspective, it's looking at building a resilient nation and working in collaboration with all other agencies or stakeholders that are involved. I think government right now is more focused on primary industries, looking after all the economic resource sectors like fisheries, forestry, and agriculture. And those sectors, those government ministries also, they have the different policies on how they implement it. So due to this climate change resilience drive by the government, we are trying to actually synchronize policies, legislations, and regulations so that they can be implemented into a sustainable framework or sustainable management in terms of Fiji's natural resources.
I also might add that apart from the government policies and all these things, one very important thing that we seem to forget is how do we empower the Itauke people, the local indigenous people. That's very important.
Yes, and
they own almost 90% of the land in Fiji. So for any interventions that we do, it's highly likely that we'll be doing those interventions within this land that belong to the Itauke people. And it's very important that we empower these people to make the right decisions at the right time in order to ensure that forest conservation and protection is.
Yeah, I might add that, even in the past, Itauke, before all this, had their own way of conserving the land. You might know about that because I have actually spoken about that. Even way before climate change, this is like going back, way back. They had their own own vision of, I mean, they just came naturally. But we'll talk about that next on Speak Your Mind, Gold FM, only the classic hits. We're back on Speak Your Mind, Gold FM, only the classic hits. I hope you're enjoying the program. This is a live radio talkback show, but we have the delayed coverage on FBC TV. So if you're listening live right now on radio, and maybe you have a question for our friends here, you're most welcome to call 3220-906 or 77-32906. Now, I want to go back to the question before we went into the break where Isaac had said it's really important because the Itauke own 90% of the land about. So, you know, you have to enlighten them. And, well, I'm sure you're already doing that. Viliami, maybe you'd like to share with us on how maybe you're raising awareness in the community to our Itauke.
I think that for the government agents right now, if they want to do a particular development into the communities, like for example, the Ministry of Forestry, if we were going to do awareness on a conservation area or anything, this is being guided by the Rural Development Framework, that is with the Ministry of Rural Maritime and also Itauke Affairs.
Yes.
So these are any type of development that you want to do, it has got to be guided by the interests of the communities also, whether they have consented for that.
Okay.
So those are part and parcel of what's the processes inside the Rural Development Framework that guides us in order to develop a particular community.
Yeah, but I'm actually quite happy to see pictures, you know, that come out and, you know, you're doing a good work, getting people to plant more trees. I mean, we see quite a lot of that. And I believe you have something like 30 million trees, 15 years tree planting target. So, how can we contribute to this, the 30 million trees, 15 years tree planting target?
For Conservation International, we've together with the Ministry of Forest and together with our funding from the United Nations Development Fund under the Global Environment Facility, we received some funding to do some restoration work, basically planting trees in the Tuva catchment, which is in the highlands of Nandrongana-Vosa and Ba province. That we've been working very closely with the Nandrongana-Vosa provincial office and the Ba provincial office, who are our leaders who go and who advocate for us. We are just there facilitating the work for them. And also together with the Nandrongana-Vosa Yaumbula Management Support Team, which is basically an ad hoc group that does a lot of awareness activities in the province. So for Conservation International in the Tuva catchment, that's right from Momi Bay right up to the interior of Ba, we're trying to, our target is 360 hectares of degraded lands to be replanted. You're talking about 30 to 40,000 trees planted. Together with our partners, the Ministry of Forest, we have so far planted over 15,000 seedlings. As of yesterday, that's over 100 hectares of forest.
That's amazing.
So that's just a little part of our work together with Forestry, the Ministry of Forest. And the Ministry of Forest has been doing a lot of work under their 30 million tree over 30 years.
Yes. I mean, how do you feel, I mean, personally, when you plant a tree?
Well, for me, I've been working I've been fortunate that I've been, in the forest. Like I said, that movie, forgotten that animated movie. I speak for the forest.
Okay.
Forgotten Dr. Zeus or something. Yeah.
Oh, I must watch that one.
And so I've been fortunate that I've been able to visit almost all of Fiji doing the work that I do.
Must be beautiful. I mean, I can imagine myself in a forest.
Yes, so
lovely.
I enjoy being out in the forest.
Yeah.
But lately I've been office bound, but if I'm not in the office, I prefer to be out in the forest. Yeah. And planting trees is good for the environment. It's also good for you do a lot of exercise, you do a lot of hiking and do a lot of activities. So
Yeah,
don't think of it as
it's a burden.
as a burden, but look at it as an exercise.
Yeah, we have to look on the bright side. Besides the work
course.
that you're doing, you're saving our planet, helping to save our planet and look after our forest. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, you go into the forest, at least we don't have any, snakes or anything like that. So our forest is quite safe.
Yeah, so like Willie mentioned already, CI is doing his part. There's also the Fiji Pine Limited is doing their planting of pine trees. They also have the Fiji Hardwood Corporation who's doing their side together. That comes under that 30 million trees over 15 years. Yeah. So it's not only one organization or one government department. It's
Everyone working together.
everyone working together to achieve the government's
Wishes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, William?
Luis, for the Ministry of Forestry, we'd be interested if there are members of the country that are interested in getting on board. We have a Reforestation Degraded project that's been funded by government on an annual basis. So it is a target that we have for 30 million trees in 15 years, but under collaboration with all our other partners.
Yeah.
So this fund, if you have a portion of land that is being degraded or that you need to be restored with trees, you can always put in the request to the Conservator of Forest or to the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Fisheries and Forests, or just to notify us your concerns on whether you want to be involved in this program, and we'll send in a team to actually do verify your subject areas, and then we'll notify you on when we can start working together as a team. It's just not like we're looking at the communities who are out there, whether you have a freehold land or native land, and or other land types. But as an owner, we need your consent to be forthcoming so that we can come and build awareness, so that people are taking ownership of planting trees. It's just to protect us from all these climate changes that are happening around us.
Yes. Okay. So, yeah, that's all about the planting trees. I mean, even just planting a tree probably outside your home would be good too. I mean, everywhere we can plant a tree. Yeah?
A lot of people, when they come to plant tree, they just see the tree that they receive when they go and plant.
Yeah.
They don't realize a lot of effort goes into raising that tree that they, so there's a lot of effort that's going behind behind
raising a tree.
Okay,
then we might talk about that a bit more later on, coming up soon, on how you can raise a tree properly on Speak Your Mind, Gold FM, only the classic hits. We'll be back in a moment. Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. I'm Louise Kaunisela. We're talking about International Day of Forests and how important our forests are to mankind. And we have from the Ministry of Forestry now joining us, Riama Nado. A very warm welcome to you. And I think I need to ask you the question of how is Fiji celebrating International Day of Forests?
Thank you, Louise. So for the International Day of Forests is normally is an annual event. It's celebrated on March 21st. But since it's a Sunday this year, we're having the celebrations all over across Fiji on Friday, 19th March, this Friday.
Okay.
So at the national level, we have His Excellency the President, who will be officiating on early Friday morning. He'll be planting the iconic, you remember the iconic ivy tree, yeah? That's
yes, in
the triangle.
The triangle.
Right. I mean, half of it or something was left after the cyclone.
So,
okay.
So the Forestry Ministry was able to save a seed from that tree, and then we had it
raised in the nursery.
Yeah, it was being raised, and the seedling was being raised, and so His Excellency will be planting it beside the ivy tree the triangle on Friday
Oh, that's a
morning.
good one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe the son or daughter of Eve.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the decision was made to.
Nice.
Yes.
Oh,
The decision
okay.
was made as a means of replacing the existing ivy tree,
Yeah.
and just to continue the history of the tree being there as a significant landmark for Fiji.
Very much so. It goes back hundreds of years. People
Yes.
took shade under that lovely ivy tree. I mean, I
Yes.
remember when I posted on my page that half of it was gone. You know, there was huge reaction around the world and in the country as well. Man, our ivy tree.
It's also to remember that where the ivy tree was is also the old foreshore.
Yes, see, it's
So-
just all historically
Exactly.
very
So that
historical.
was before it's been reclaimed where now Westpac is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we
It's
used
a
to-
landmark, eh?
It's an old landmark. It's an old silver foreshore.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that.
And in the 1800s too, that ivy tree was used
Mm.
to measure the distance from between Suva and Nosori.
Wow.
So the starting point of that measurement was like the ivy tree, and they'd count from there. So
See?
you go up Renwick Road and then Waimanu Road, Ratumara, and that's how that it came about. The 1 mile, 2 miles,
Yeah.
3-4 miles.
Amazing stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the starting point.
That was the starting point from the ivy tree.
Oh.
That's how they used to count it before.
You know, I'm actually so happy that you're getting, the seedling from there and planting it. A very wonderful idea indeed. So who came up with the idea? Just everyone spoke.
I think
I
the
suppose
Ministry of
everyone-
Forestry
Yeah.
for their
Yes.
foresight in getting a seed from that ivy tree
See?
and raising it.
Brilliant idea. But like again, how they have to keep looking after it to make sure it grows.
Yes.
But
Yes.
we'll get back to you on how we can raise a tree, because he said you have to you have
Yeah.
to look after it. You don't just plant it and leave it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And just for the Western Division, so we've had 2 provinces so far. So the province of Ra and Nandrongaramosa. For in Ra, they'll be planting the schools in Ra. All schools in Ra will be planting trees this Friday, and TLTB will be also planting 3,000 tree seedlings at Yalavo
Wonderful.
in Ra. For Nandrongaramosa, there'll be a cross rally celebration at Nayau level, where there'll also be tree planting with Ministry of Forestry staff and stakeholders.
So
And
making it all fun, get the children
Yes,
involved,
yes,
know,
so-
the
because
idea
when
is-
they grow up, they're going to want to continue doing that.
So we're
Right.
getting our communities in Tuva catchment, which is in
Yeah.
Nandronganawosa.
So
They're just starting their restoration program.
Okay.
They're just basically almost 2 months into the restoration program. We're getting them across to the Ra province, where they have 10 years experience.
Wow.
So we're getting them to exchange ideas, what worked, what didn't work, how can we better improve our restoration activity. So getting them to learn from each other and not from us scientists. Just basically, it's easier for them to relate to each other that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
yes,
Excellent.
so this is where Ministry of Forestry is working in partnership with Conservation International and our partners, provincial office and the communities.
So all this is going to be happening on Friday, because
The,
Sunday is
the national celebration is on Friday,
Yeah.
but
The cross
the
rally
cross one is on next week.
Next week
Okay.
for 3 days.
Okay, so it's like a follow-up, a whole
Yeah.
week
Yes.
following up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yes, and
Yeah.
in the Northern Division,
Mm-hmm.
so for this earlier this week, they planted 30,000 seedlings in Rambi, in as part of the lead up to International Day of Forest.
In Rambi,
In Rambi, yes.
30,000.
Yes.
Okay.
because,
So these are all trees.
Yes.
Tree seedlings.
yes, Vativa and native seedlings, native trees.
So you are very specific on picking what type of tree that you plant.
it really depends on what the community wants.
Oh,
You
okay.
cannot give a community, tree seedlings they don't like. If they don't like anything they give you, they won't look after it.
Oh,
So it's up to them what they want. So for us, sometimes they prefer fruit trees.
Yeah.
So we try our best to secure fruit tree seedlings.
Yeah, I think fruit trees are just number one,
Yes.
because I love fruits.
Some want some pine.
Yeah.
Most of the communities in the rural areas, they have what they call woodlots. So basically small patches of pine that they plant.
Okay.
And this is basically when there's something happen, they can easily log that.
It's excessive.
Easily accessible. Like
Okay.
for the previous cyclones that we had, instead of buying timber from the hardware shop, they just went to the nearby their forest woodlots.
See,
and
there you
harvest.
go.
So
I mean, it's all very involved. I mean, it helps the community. Yeah. Yeah, excellent. So, is there anything else that you'd like to highlight?
Yes, and just for in the Northern Division as well, this Friday there'll also be schools that will be participating. So they'll have speech competitions, like oratory contests.
Okay.
They'll also be planting trees.
Oh, that's lovely. I bet they're going to have lots of fun doing that. I remember
Yes.
FBC, we also planted trees. We have a radio place that we have in somewhere in Nakasi or somewhere there. So we got all involved and we planted trees all around the compound. And we felt really happy when we did that. Yeah, so raising a tree,
Yeah.
very quickly, maybe you tell us how you can raise a tree properly.
For in the past, most of the seedlings were raised by the Ministry of Forestry through their nurseries, either extension divisions or research division. They usually raise because they were ones that were trained in, getting the seeds from the trees, looking after them and making sure that they last in storage, and eventually planting them in the nurseries, in the black potting bags that you see,
Right.
and eventually what you see when you go and plant.
Okay,
And
so maybe
now
you
what
want
we've
to,
done is basically we've flipped it around. Okay, we've trained the communities now.
Yeah, I think that's a bit the great idea.
And
Yes.
apart from planting trees, the communities earn money from selling the seedlings to us.
Yeah, that's so true.
Like mentioned, we have
See?
communities. We are buying from communities at $3, for the native seedlings, and $5 for the sandalwood.
So maybe I can get into that business then, eh?
Well, I'll give you an example. I mean, last week I was down in the Ra province to pay some of the ladies who were supplying us with seedlings.
Excellent.
I mean, I think 5 of them, they shared amongst them $9,000.
Oh my gosh.
And these were market vendors who were telling me that, we wanted raising seedlings was their side job. So
And
now
they
they're,
made that much money.
if you do it properly, in a proper way, you can earn money. I mean, just a couple of days ago, 2 brothers shared $12,000.
Just
Just raising seedlings.
Raising and
Raising
selling
and
seedlings.
That is just so
And they were
good to
just
know.
basically, farmer, just our communities, we have trained them on how to do it properly, to ensure that when you plant them, they survive.
Well, that's just wonderful news. I'm sure a person who will be listening right now will be like, get a big light bulb in their head. But unfortunately, we've come to the end of Speak Your Mind. And thank you
very
so much
much.
for sharing
you.
with us everything, And,
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's lovely talking to you as
Thank you
well.
so much.
Thank you indeed. I know I wanted to talk about the pine chips that were, shipped off to China, 9 million worth. But unfortunately, we couldn't reach that. But on Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. Good to have your company. Until next week, take care. Look after yourself. Hope you
Naka.
enjoyed the program. Bye for now.